r/askreddit. Children of single parents. Who was the worst person your parent has dated? My mom dated a dude who beat the living shit out of me. Dude and his brother took turns punching me in the face while the other held me down. I was about 11 at the time. My mom didn't bother to remove these turds from her life either. I'm now in my 40s and still have scars on my face to remind me about it. A few months later, while I was at a summer camp paid for by a charity organization, the same dude put her in the hospital. A few weeks after that, I went to live with my aunt and uncle. She stayed with a dude. I haven't spoken to her in close to 20 years. We'll call him Jose. Younger than my mom, chronically unemployed, a drinker, violent, and literally illiterate, but good looking, so my mom was smitten. My mom was from a good, in name, family. She had education, she had 2 little daughters, and she brought this scumbag to our peaceful little apartment and he settled in right away, beating the shit out of all of us, impregnating my mom 4 times, running off for months, coming back, never paying child support. When he was around, he mercilessly beat on us, and my mom just stood by like a fucking twat, not intervening. One morning my little brother, who was maybe 2, woke up and was hooping up and down in his crib for attention. Jose, a grown man, smacked that poor baby so hard in the face that the baby flew across the crib and hit the other side and slid down. Finally, my mom got diagnosed with lupus and Jose found out and literally abandoned her at the pharmacy. Years later, we find out that he had been sexually abusing my older sister. I'm still so mad at my mom for the decade of bullshit we endured with that man. He was literally a cancer, and she couldn't summon the self-esteem to leave him, even when he was beating us with extension cords. There's a poem by Naira Wahid called Before You Get That Key Made that should be handed to every single mother. Fuck your loneliness. Protect your kids. He was called Greg. He was an abusive wanker. He used to lock me and my brothers out in the rain while my mum was at work. Had no way of contacting her before kids had phones. He did it in all weathers. He broke my mum's arm in front of me and my brothers. He grabbed my face so hard his nail left a cut in my cheek. My mum and my 2 aunties got their own back though. My mum stole his change jar. His change jar had notes in. There were number 1 PS or 2 PS. Only silver plus. One auntie smashed every single thing he had. Car windows, house windows, TVs, everything. She also promised to beat him whenever she sees him. She's kept that promise and has hit him 7 times so far on nights out. My other auntie kept reporting him to his boss for things he hadn't done, but they couldn't disprove, like being horrible, swearing at her. He was fired. He was a real piece of shit, and the actions of my family may have been drastic, if not illegal, but he most definitely deserved this. This was a long time ago. Back before the beginning of time. When I was 5, my mom and dad separated before divorcing. About 2 days post separation, Dallas moved into the house. He was all smiles, full of laughter and jokes. Didn't really interact with me much. He had a couple of months previously come back from a tour of Vietnam where he witnessed and created hell. He wasn't just little kid thinking adults are big. He was big, 6 feet 2 inches and ripped. The guy moved around like a wild caged animal. He was unemployed, so he was home all the time while my mother worked, which meant I spent a lot of time with him. I remember turning on the TV one day to watch Land of the Giants. I sat down on the floor, the opening came on, and I was suddenly flying through the air and landed on the couch. Dallas had thrown me across the room. The landing was a bit rough. As soon as I realized what happened, Dallas's face filled my field of vision, and it was a vision of anger and hate. He told me that he was the only one in the house who decides what can be watched on TV and that if I did that again, he'd rip my head off and stab my mom to death. He grabbed me by my hair and asked me if I understood. I said yes. He terrified me, but even at that age, I knew he was mentally ill. He started making dioramas of war scenes that he had experienced. I remember him spending days making these things. One of them I vividly remember. It was a tank scene with a guy's legs on one side of a tank track and his torso on the other. In the track was a red spot where he got crushed. Dallas pointed to the scene and told me that if I didn't behave, He would drive a tank through my bedroom while I was asleep, run me over, and turned me into a bloody red spot. I believed him. He started randomly beating me with a heavy leather belt. I remember the concussions of each hit taking the breath out of me. Once he turned me over on his knee, pulled my pants down, and told me he was going to cut my ass off with the knife he had in his hand. I pissed my pants and his knee. I got hit on the side of the head and was out. When I came to, he told me that I was going to tell my mom that I fell off my bike in the street, and if I didn't, he would stab us both to death and drive a tank through the house and turn us into red spots. He started hitting my mom, and one day, while Dallas was out doing something, my mom packed our shit up, and poof, we were in an apartment on another side of town. Dallas tracked us down one night, broke the door down, had a gun in his hand, and told my mom to say her goodbyes. To LA. Sheriff's deputies showed up right about then with their guns drawn. Dallas was taken away in cuffs. I never saw him again. A few months later, I opened up to my mom about the abuse Dallas had inflicted on me for the year he lived with us. She dismissively said, "Maybe you were being bad. Maybe you deserved it." Her saying that created a gulf between us. I never trusted my mom again to this day, and I'm 52 years old now. War is evil. Currently happening, my mom is dating a drug addicted, jobless loser who lost custody of his daughter years back. He's been to prison twice and doesn't ever care to clean himself up. He's abused her, hit her, stolen from her, and even got her pregnant, and is now why I have a 11-month-old half-sister. He steals her bank cards all the time and takes her car out at night to go and take stuff off the side of the road to buy a bunch of junk. Our whole house, side yard, and backyard look like a junkyard of all of the stuff he's stolen, gathered from the road, or bought with her money. I'm not exaggerating either, it's very bad. They've been together for over 2 years, and it makes me angry and sad at the same time to know my mom is with him. She's smart, has a 8 to 6 job, and went to college for 4 years, just to end up barely being able to afford the water and electric bills. I wish she would kick him out. He deserves to be arrested for doing heroin and coke in our backyard with his friends he brings over without notice. Edit. Currently his mom passed away last week and he's going to be gaining $100k from her life insurance policy. I dig how that works. I'm 15. I guarantee not a dime of it will be spent on helping pay for bills, getting a job, or cleaning up the mess he's made my and my mom's life. My mom dated this one guy for 5+ years. She was already a bad parent, but with him, she acted like we didn't exist. They would argue and have sex till like 1 AM most nights, so I would go to school very tired. He didn't even acknowledge us, and she didn't care. The only time he did, he would snitch on me for small things. The few times she was home they had her door locked, and sometimes I would try to talk to her because I was being bullied, and she didn't find out till years later, and at that time I had been coping with never seeing my dad and the door was locked, so I'd just go off and cry. I confronted her about it once, and she said he was the one who locked the door, but like, still bitch, I'm your kid. He was also cheating on her, and he pretty much beat her one day, and she made me call the police. They broke up again after that. That all happened like 2 years ago. This was all while I was like a preteen and up, and I was actually trying to bond with my mom. I still don't really have a connection with her because of him, and don't love her. He still comes over to her house and spends the night. Also, he used to live off of her, has never had a real job. Everyone sees him as a saint, and I still get questioned as to why I don't like him. Everyone was mad at me when I was 14 because he came over to my mom's house months after he beat her, and he said hi to me, and I said my mom was pissed. I now tell her to her face she's bad at picking men and that she's never going to be happy if she keeps picking homeless abusive men. She's still in love with him according to her.